episode 231, the follow-along series with professional triathlete Sam Long. Welcome to the Pursuit of the Perfect Race. I'm Coach Terry Wilson, and with each episode, I bring stories of athletes to you that share their experiences at races in order for you to learn how to have your perfect race. You'll hear stories from athletes of all ages, abilities, and races of all distances. So regardless of where you fit in, there's something in it for you. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now let the pursuit begin. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pursuit of the Perfect Race. And welcome back to the continuation of the follow-along series with Sam Long, professional triathlete. This month we're going to be talking about his January training block and talking about more about who he is and diving into the weeds. This is going to be a continuation every month for the year of 2019. Sam, welcome to the show. I look forward to talking with you, man.
Absolutely. Good to be here.
Awesome. So before we really get started, tell me who you are, where do you live, what you're doing, and what races you're doing this year, man.
Cool, man. So I'm a professional triathlete from Boulder, Colorado, born and raised, and I suppose I'd still call that home base, although I like to spend at least half the year away from home. It's just sort of my way of life, and I grew up a triplet, and I didn't get into triathlon until just a number of years ago when I was 18, and I'm 23 now, and I'm doing the full Ironman scene as well as some half Ironmans. And this year, my schedule is pretty jam-packed. As always, if you follow me, I'm doing a marathon in 6 weeks, and then I'll do Oceanside 70.3, St. George 70.3, Chattanooga 70.3, Victoria 70.3, Coeur d'Alene 70.3. That takes us to the end of June, and then I'll build for my first Ironman of the year at Ironman Lake Placid at the end of July.
Wow. So you are like cram-packed with all this. And so I knew that you were a triplet after we actually talked last time, and then I found out that you wanted to do a full Ironman at the age of 18 to basically like a rite of passage to be a man.
Correct, yep.
So,
yeah, that's how my mind works, I guess.
Why? Like, I thought a marathon, like, I was in high school at 17. I was like, I'm going to do a marathon, and then my track coach, she was like, hey, why don't you just do the half marathon and build into the marathon later? Because, hey, your body's still building on itself. It's like in this developing process, and you don't want to do any damage. But here you are over here doing an Ironman at the age of 18.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of the backstory. A marathon probably would have been a little bit more reasonable, but I tore my MCL 5 months before I did the Ironman. And well, 6. I tore it 6 months before, and so I couldn't run, actually. And that's when I got really into cycling and swimming, because when you tear your MCL, the first exercise you can do back is cycling, and then the second exercise you can do back is swimming. And so I love to move. I can't sit still for more than about 30 minutes. Like, the duration of this interview is about as long as I can sit still for. And so I just started biking. Like, I'd wake up before school and I'd bike every day, and then I'd bike after school. So I just started doing 2-a-days on the bike. And then when I could swim, I biked every day and I swam every day. And then I could run about 4.5 months out, I could start running. And so I said, okay, let's just keep doing this. And then I just added the running and did all 3 every day, basically. And then went and did the Ironman. And I'm glad I did.
Wow. So many folks think that being a professional triathlete is all about training, recovering, napping, and living the good life. But this isn't really the case.
No, I mean, yeah, there's certainly things that are awesome about it, and I love the lifestyle. However, there's definitely some things that get nitty and gritty when you get into it.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, first off, when you have let's say my biggest training week last year was 44 hours. When you train 44 hours, you start to get pretty run down, and it becomes energy just to get out the door. And that week, I remember I was so tired when I wasn't training. Like, I was worthless to do anything else except for train and sleep. And so it's cool, but your social life goes out the window. And the thing that people don't see about professional triathlon, And the training I've always loved, all of that, and the racing and the traveling. The hard part, I think, is when you get to dealing with sponsors and promoting yourself and having stresses of making it financially. I think that's really where things like any other job come in, and that stuff can be quite time intensive that you usually don't see or think about when you think of a professional triathlete.
Right, because a lot of sponsors say, hey, we'll provide the product and you just wear it, and that will be our sponsorship. Versus, hey, we're going to actually give you money for wearing this for this long. Or, hey, if you get on the podium, then you'll get this much money. Like, I feel like a lot of athletes, even in triathlon, don't really understand how sponsorships really work.
Correct, absolutely. And I can speak from experience. When I first came into the sport, and when I was first an age grouper, like, I wasn't getting anything. And then, at first I considered, sponsorships, maybe if I get like $100 worth of product for a year and then you promote them a little bit. And then as I've moved up, like, to realize, like, the product is good, but you're never going to make a livelihood off of just getting free sunglasses and helmets and shoes. So where it really gets hard with sponsors is saying, I want, say, for example, 10 grand, and I'll put you all over my kit, and I'll promote you, and I'll do these functions for you, and I'll do this and this and this. And usually the answer is no. Sponsors want to say, how about we give you $300 or $400 or $500 of product, and they want them to be all over the kit. And you have to draw kind of a hard line in the sand, because, like, if I look at my future, I'm 23 now, and I live in my parents' basement, but when I'm 24 or 25, I don't want to be living in my parents' basement. I don't want to be living in my parents' basement now necessarily, but I do what I have to do in order to live the dream. And sometimes it's not always pretty doing that, or it's not this fantasy world. There's definitely some hard goings with it, I'd say.
Man, because product doesn't pay rent.
Exactly. Product doesn't pay rent. Product doesn't, unless if it's a nutrition product, but even then it's going to be sports nutrition. It's not going to, like, let's say you're sponsored by Cliff Bar. That's not going to feed you for a year. You know what I mean? Unless if you want to eat 10 Cliff Bars a day for 365 days.
Man. So what about travel to and from races? Because that's going to add up quick this year. You're traveling everywhere.
Well, yeah, I tell you. So last year I spent $7,000 on travel.
Wow.
Just to get to races. That's not even accounting for accommodation. That's just to get to races. And that includes getting to Australia, because I went to Australia and New Zealand. So that adds about $2,400 in there. And this year I've really, while I'm racing a lot, I've really put together a schedule that should actually be relatively, I'm hoping to reduce that by half this year. And it looks like I'm going to do that. So basically, Oceanside and St. George, I'm going to be in Tucson, so I can drive to both of those races. And then Chattanooga, I'm flying to, but then from Chattanooga, I'm flying to my girlfriend's place, and she lives up in Canada. And then I can drive from her place to Victoria and Coeur d'Alene. So then I don't have plane tickets for either of those, and I'll stay up there, and then I'll fly over to Lake Placid from there. So really it's four plane tickets, 4 one-way plane tickets to get me through the end of July for the year. So I think I'm doing pretty good. And I've really had to, like, last year I just sort of said, I really want to do this race, and it looks so awesome. It's an awesome location. And I scrounged up money and I figured out a way to do it. And then I realized, like, now at the end of the year despite having 4 top 5 Ironman finishes, I had less money in the bank than I started with. So I said, okay, like, I have to get a little bit more strategic about this so that my costs are lowered, and hopefully I'll make more this year as well. But the first way to do it was to lower costs.
Right. So overall, what are your goals for 2019? Do you have some ideas of placing, or do you just have some goals as far as what you want to hit for measuring improvement? What do you want to do?
Yeah, I'll tell you my number one goal, and it's funny, it's mixed. Some people say you should never say you want to win, or you'll never say you will win. But my main goal for 2019 is to win an Ironman. So if I'm not supposed to say that, I guess I'm doing things wrong. But that's my main goal for 2019.
Wow. So do you want to win at Lake Placid? Is that your goal, or do you want to win another one?
Lake Placid would be the first target. Yeah, hopefully it happens at Lake Placid. If not, I'm trying to figure out another race. Ironman's been taking a lot of my original plan was to do Lake Placid and then Louisville, but right now it's looking like Louisville might not happen as a pro field next year.
Really?
So, yep.
Do you know something I don't know about that?
Oh, absolutely, I do not. But all I can tell you is Ironman's been reducing the prize money at a whole number of the races, and they've just been getting rid of pro fields entirely at races for next year. So, and they haven't said anything about it. So,
I saw that someone posted that there was St. George, the prize money went down.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. The prize money at St. George went down by $25,000.
And that's a North American Championship race.
Correct. Yep.
So that race all of a sudden just get lowers, and where does that money go?
Into the Ironman's pockets. They haven't put it into they could still put more races on the calendar, but so far the money hasn't appeared as more anywhere else. So,
man. So far in January, to kind of shift gears a little bit, how's your training been?
The training's been pretty good. I've still been in a bit more of a deload period, and come February, I'm definitely picking it up a little bit more. In retrospect, I realized doing 5 Ironmans, I pushed my body a little bit hard last year, and I've needed a little bit more time to come out of it and to really get rejuvenated for 2019. And I'm pretty much there now. My training this week is getting there, and I've still been training hours wise. I'd say I've been training about, let's say, between 15 and 20 hours a week, not including skiing. And I've been skiing a lot, which the way I ski, I mean, like I hook off 20-foot cliffs, so it's a pretty intense way of skiing, and I've skied 22 days since December. So if you included that in, that would be a little bit more training stress, but I don't have that in my, like I just say ski day, but I don't put any TSS and I don't put any time in on my training peaks.
Nice. So far this year, what has your longest swim, bike, and run workouts been like?
Almost everything's been aerobic for me.
So no real intensity?
No real intensity. This week I did my first real intervals on the bike and my first real intervals running. And everything else has been pretty much pure aerobic base work and some like I've been doing strides, and on the bike I might do like some quick little spin ups, like high cadence, high power for like 10 seconds, but then like 2 minutes of rest. So I would hardly call it intervals, but it's been, I mean, this year I built a pretty solid base. So my hardest run in January, I would say, was I did a 17-mile run, and just pushing aerobically, and in that I pushed 10 miles at about a 6:30 pace, just running aerobically.
Wow.
So for a lot of people that would be doing intervals, but for me it was just running nice and smooth. So, and the bike, my hardest day was, it was 2 days in a row. I had skied for 9 days straight, and I really hadn't. I'd maybe gotten on the bike, like I'd get on the bike like an hour a day, run an hour a day. And I got back and it was like 55 degrees here in Boulder. So the first day I rode six and a half hours. This is off like doing nothing. So it was like 6.5 hours
on the bike.
On the bike. Yeah. I got a little bonky at the end. That actually was fine. And then the next day, something beheld me to ride 5 hours. So after 6 hours the day before, the 5 hours the next day got to me a bit. And, yeah, I slept pretty well that night. So but like the funny thing is, in the summer, man, I would do, like, you followed my training a little bit. In the summer, I'll ride 5 hours as a rest day. I mean, I'm not even joking. Like, I'll be like, I get up, I ride 5 hours, and
because riding is your favorite.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, so what about your coach? Do you have a coach? Are you working with a coach right now? I know you were
Yep,
working with a little bit last year with somebody.
Yeah, I've now officially got a coach, and I think it's been good for me to get that structure. His name's Ryan Boltman. He's Ben Hoffman's coach, and he's he works with a lot of runners. He's out of Santa Fe. He coaches the 2014 Boston Marathon champion, and on the female side, and it's been good. He's really been the one who's probably held me back a bit. He's seen that, once I get fired up, like I just go and go and go, and it's like you almost can't stop me. And so he's really almost been forcefully holding me back and just getting me to do just enough so that I'm not too fit too early, I suppose, and just keeping it so that I can build an aerobic base. I mean, if I can get to where I can run 620 miles aerobically, then that's a good place to be in.
Man, so tell me a little bit more about this fire and the passion for doing the sport so much. I mean, this motivation is not that common to find in athletes, and you have it. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that's a little hard to answer, I guess, because I don't know. I just like it's like when you have something or when you don't have something, you almost like people ask me, "Oh, well, what's it like being a triplet?" And I go, "Well, what's it like not being a triplet?" Right? Because to me, it was just always like normal to have two brothers exactly your age to do things with all the time, and to not have that would be like what I can't really imagine what that would have been like. So, but I think it's just if I could say, I think it's maybe a blessing and a curse, and because like I can lose track of everything else in my life, and it's like I have a way of I almost will block things out that get in the way. So it's like, oh, if you're preventing me from reaching, let's say for 2019, my goal of winning an Ironman, like I'll essentially just like stop spending time around you or something like that, which is maybe a little bit too unbalanced. But then like I've never had an issue with getting out the door for training, even regardless of how tired I am. Like if I make the decision like, oh, I'm too tired and the best thing to do is rest, then I'll rest. But it's like if I have a 7-hour ride and I'm feeling really unmotivated, and let's say my girlfriend's in town and it's like, oh, just like stay in bed and we can have cook pancakes. It's like, see you later. It's just like, I got to do it, and there's a lot of nights I spend, and I know it starts to get stoked up. In December, like I took a bit of a break, as you know, because you were messaging me and I didn't even reply for like 2 weeks. Because I just I needed a break from everything triathlon, because I spent 11 months of the year last year just entirely focused on it. And then I took 2 months off, not this year, but now I can feel it's back, because every night, like pretty much my last thought is about triathlon. And then first thing in the morning, it's about like getting better at triathlon. And for better or worse, that's just where I'm at in my life right now.
Man. So if you could just kind of estimate, I know you're training about 15 hours a week with skiing. How many hours of training do you think you feel like you accomplished in January?
Total for January?
Yeah.
Including skiing?
Sure. Or not, whichever is easiest.
Let's go without skiing. I would say, with the few days that are left, I'd say, yeah, I will have averaged 20 hours a week. So I will have done, I think there's 5 weeks in January, essentially, right?
Yeah,
31 days.
Yeah.
So I would have done about 100 hours without skiing, and then without skiing, and then with skiing, I would throw, I skied 15 days. Each of those days was about 5 hours. It'd be about 130 hours or 140 hours with skiing.
Wow. You ski a lot. That's a lot in lift tickets.
Yeah, I just have a season pass. So.
Oh, that works.
Yeah.
So what mountain did you go to?
Well, mostly Crested Butte. My family has a place up at Crested Butte, so I'm up there most of the time. And then I go to thankfully the pass works at a whole bunch of mountains, and I can go to some closer mountains to Boulder too, just for one day.
Wow. I've never been skiing, but my wife's there right now.
Yeah, cool.
She's up at Lake Tahoe. So.
They just got hammered with snow.
Yes.
Oh,
they got like 20, 30 inches last week alone.
Yeah. Oh, they got hammered.
Jeez. So, as far as training goes, what was the most fun you had this month doing? 20-foot jump skiing?
Oh, absolutely, man. I'll tell you, this one day at Crested Butte, it was last week, and I had been there for 5 days, and I just kept pushing the limit a little bit more every day. And the biggest cliff on the mountain that was open right now, I just couldn't get my confidence to do it up. And then we got 7 inches of snow this one day, and I just went back there, and I went and I looked at the landing for maybe 5-10 seconds, and I just said no hesitation, and I just hooked off this 20-foot thing, and then after that I was just doing 5 or 10 footers, just like not even looking, just skiing right into them. Oh, that day was so fun. It was unbelievable.
You sound like an adrenaline junkie all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Have you ever been base jumping?
Nope.
Are you going to?
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe sometime.
Skydiving?
Haven't done that either. It's just expensive.
Man. So, tell me about your day-to-day life aside from sport. What's this look like?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I've almost been living 2 lives the last little bit since I've had, like, once I really get into training, then I would honestly tell you my day-to-day life is mostly about sport, and I'm trying to get better and add a little bit more balance, and I make time to see people, and I've stopped going out. Like, I used to go out and I'd stay up kind of late, but now that I'm getting into my old age, I just can't quite do it so much anymore.
Bullshit. Come on now. You say old age and you're what, 24?
23.
Okay, 23. Okay.
But I tell you, I used to be able to stay up till like 12 or 1 in the morning and be drinking with friends and wake up at 7 and train 8 hours the next day. If I want to stay up till 1, I have to have a slightly reduced training day. But yeah, I've really tried. I try and make time to see my friends and family during the day and during reasonable hours. And my whole approach is just really being present and mindful in every action you do in your life. And so whether that's training or just anything, trying to find joy in all the things you do. So not just with training and then everything else in life doesn't mean anything, but all the way down to things like, when you wake up and enjoying cooking breakfast and enjoying those moments and just simple things like that. And I'll tell you, I really love to read. And so a lot of times in between training sessions, I'm reading books and just really trying to live a life that I'm proud of living, and that I would be able to say like, I did more than just train today. And I also learned, and you got to stimulate the mind just as much as the body if you can every day.
Wow. So what books do you read?
So I just finished The Climb about Tommy Caldwell, who does the Dawn Wall. He climbs the Dawn Wall in Yosemite. He's the first one to do it, and he's from Colorado. Phenomenal book, really, really cool, and a different sport than triathlon, but I still think there was a lot to take out of it. I've gotten into audiobooks this year as well, so I just finished Trevor Noah's audiobook about him growing up in South Africa. That was pretty cool as well. And then, I've already done 3 books here for 2019. The third book I read was An Astronaut's Guide to Life. It's about Chris Hadfield, a Canadian astronaut, and a really inspiring book as well.
Wow. Well, I'm already on my 4th book too, so
I know.
A good thing.
You're a heavy reader. You always beat me, I think.
Man. So I got Brene Brown's Braving the Wilderness. I got Forgiving Our Fathers and Mothers, which that's a really interesting book. And then there's another book that I literally just finished. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Let me pull up my list because I have a list because I'm that. Grit. That's what it was. Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance by Angela Duckworth. That's a really good one.
Cool. Yeah, that's on my list.
Yeah. But Braving the Wilderness, man, that's got some good points in it. I think you'd like it.
Cool.
Man, so you have a girlfriend that lives in Canada, so you're in a long-distance relationship, and you're a pro triathlete. How does she support you from afar, and how does this work out?
Yeah, it's turned into a really positive dynamic, actually, and at times it's good. Like, I go into training camps, and I just sort of put my head down, and we're both really independent. So neither of us needs to don't get me wrong. We want to see each other every single day, but if we go a few weeks without seeing each other, then that's okay. And she comes and visits me for shorter durations. And then I try and give it back when I can. And so this summer, I'm going to go out and be with her for 10 weeks, actually. And yeah, we just really both, when we're not with each other, we focus on doing our own things. And then when we are with each other, we still do the things we need to get done. And then we really focus on being present with each other.
Is that hard whenever y'all aren't with each other because you miss each other? Is that present?
Yeah, I think so. That's definitely hard. For me, it's almost like, I don't know, it almost just gives me more fuel to my fire. It's like, it gets me fired up to see her. It gives me motivation. Like, I want to do well to impress her. And so it just sort of helps me get motivated with training. And then we talk every night. And I don't know. It's hard not seeing her every day. But when you find the right person, then I think you do what you have to do to make it work out, right?
Yeah. So as far as your other support systems, your coach, your peers that you're training with, how has the support been from the people around you?
Good, man. So this is what I've really been liking to say. And in 2019, I've really felt, 2018, I should say, I really felt like my support system was coming around and becoming more solid. And that's part of the reason I have so much faith in the things I can accomplish in 2019, because I think I just really have a totally solid support system and people who believe in me and people I can lean on and people who, will ask me to do things. And now with my coach, who I just started working with, and both my parents have always been there. My whole family's been there to really give me emotional support, and they're always kind of encouraging me. And then I've got some really solid friends. And for me, having Ben Hoffman not have me come out and train with him, and that was a solid support system. And I honestly consider you to be part of my team. We started talking a good bit. And so I just really feel like I've got a solid, rock steady team in 2019, and people who, they're not just there for me if I do well, they're there for me if I were to, have a really hard year, and they continue to support me and believe in the things that I can do. And that's one of the things I'm most positive about in 2019.
Wow. So I know you're 23 and you're one of the youngest pros out there, one of the youngest ones. And you got second at IRONMAN Louisville last year, which is phenomenal at your age. Do you ever feel like you have imposter syndrome?
What's that?
So it's where you feel like you don't belong in what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I get that at times, and it's a bit. The funny thing is, I'd say it almost goes the other way, because I feel so natural when I race and when I'm doing triathlon, and then it's almost like I feel like I'm an imposter in the rest of my life. Like,
really?
Yeah, because it's like I don't know. When I race, I'm just so present with myself, and I'm doing what I'm doing, and then next thing I realize, the people I'm spending most of my time with now are generally in their 30s, and which is just for better. I mean, I don't know if it's better or worse. It's just what it is, And then I go, oh, I guess I'm 23 and maybe I should be doing all these things 23-year-olds are doing. But because of the forces of triathlon, and that's almost where I'm the most present. It's like, that's then how my life has been shaped. And this off season was when I really noticed it. Like, everyone was always telling me like, oh, well, once it's your off season, you can party and do all this stuff. And then I did it, and I was like, whoa, this doesn't feel like me. And it wasn't. And I felt a little bit disconnected with myself in the off season, doing those things that frankly most people my age are doing. And I'm really glad to not be doing them anymore and to be getting back to training and focused again.
Man, that's pretty awesome. So kind of to wrap up here, what else do you want to add about January 2019?
Yeah, January 2019, I think, is, if I could really summarize it, is it was just building the foundation for the year, still getting some mental rejuvenation, really stoking that fire so that I have the motivation to push hard and long. This year I want to race until December. So I figured if I can push back till February, the hard training, then I'll have more on the rear end to really push hard. And then honestly, it's been setting up stuff with sponsors and just really getting that belief system there. The results follow belief almost more so than they follow fitness. So
right.
That's been January.
Wow. So to kind of retrospectively look at 2018, what was your favorite athletic moment in 2018?
Ooh, that's a good question. Oh man, that's hard to answer. I had so many. And I almost love training more than I love racing. I love both. I had so many cool moments in Australia, just exploring these new areas, and there's count. I don't know if I could say one best memory. There's so many ones that are up there, and I remember really distinctly. I had this one sunset swim in Australia, and I was like the only one out in the ocean, and it was just this stunning sunset. And as I was swimming back, like the sun went down and it got dark, and that was really cool. And another really cool moment was when I was in Tucson and I did a 205-mile ride that day, and I was just a feeling like, holy cow, you can do this. And certainly Louisville was much more than a moment that was awesome, because I led the race from mile 30 of the bike until mile 20 of the run, and the whole time it was just like, whoa, this is pretty sweet, and so yeah, lots of really cool moments and athletic moments in 2018.
Wow. Well, Sam, just to wrap up the episode, and kind of this will be like the monthly stipend, I feel like, what is your word of the month for January?
Shred the gnar. That's 3 words, but that would be the word of the month.
What does that mean?
Phrase. Well, it's a skiing phrase. It's like you're shredding the gnar. You're getting after the powder, but I think it can apply to life. You just gotta dig in deep, and you gotta enjoy the process. And so it's 3 words: shred the gnar.
Wow. Well, Sam, it's been great, and I look forward to catching up with you next month, man.
Absolutely. Cool.
Have a good one, okay?
Okay, bye.
Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you were able to learn something from today's episode. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to leave a review on iTunes or share it with a friend. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to see pictures from this athlete's race, learn more about who I am, what I'm doing, or be on the show yourself to share your story, check out my website at CoachTerryWilson.com. Until next time, continue the pursuit.